Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Sigma Wolph Podcast for episode 20. And I feel like I'm coming down with a cold, which really sucks, man. A summer cold. I haven't had one this year, but starting to feel it. A few other people up there in the house are starting to feel it too. So it's going around. You know, what are you going to do? Usually I work through that shit. Try not to be a puss about man colds and all that, but it's hard not to. Sometimes you just got to lay down and go to sleep, but hoping to get through it without doing all of that. My girl's all into doing these natural remedies. So there's tincture bottles all over the house. And the moment anybody's got anything going on, she's there in like 2 seconds with a little shooter glass filled with some sort of a tincture with spring water. We only drink spring water up there. She went on a real health kick there. She just, along with my health fitness journey, she joined in her own way and started eating really healthy and getting us to eat healthy. So we eat clean up there. There's no seed oils. There's no food coloring dyes, like yellow number 4 and whatever they are. Red 40. That's the one you got to look out for. And it's true. I mean, if my kid, especially the young one, he gets some red 40 in him and he's like flying. It's like he'd snorted bath salts or something. The kid acts wacky as shit. And it's really weird. And I've seen it tested enough times that, he has a personality that doesn't come out unless he's super hyped up off of red 40. Call me crazy, but we've both noticed it. And a lot of other parents have too. So thank God we've got RFK Jr. in there getting some of this crap out of the food. I'm really convinced a lot of these things, like the seed oils and stuff, they have like palm oil and sesame oil and all these weird oils that aren't any good for you. And I honestly am not very up on the science, so I'm not going to speak on that, but I'll speak on what I've heard is that they're not good for you. And my question is, where do all these dyes and oils, like, they make no sense. They just end up in your products. It's like you'll buy any number of products will have fucking palm oil in it. Everything's got palm oil all of a sudden, or all these, oils I haven't really heard of before. There's always the list of chemicals, the preservatives that I never understood. But anyways, my theory is that back in the day, back in like the late 80s, early 90s, there was a real push to like bury toxic waste in this area, especially over in a place called Cortland and some of the outlying villages like Virgil and Truxton and a few other ones, I think. They wanted to bury barrels and barrels of toxic waste. Now, when they say toxic waste, I never really got the inside scoop on what kind of waste it was. But perhaps basically everybody in the area fought against it. There was signs in all the yards, no toxic waste dump, and people fought it and they went elsewhere. Now, I can't imagine there's anywhere that would accept the toxic waste dump. I mean, Jesus Christ, what are we doing here? Like, yeah, we'll bring it on in. Like, we'll do it. Like, nobody would say yes to that. So eventually they must have given up on trying to bribe people. Maybe there was like an incentive to the local bigwigs that we didn't know about back in the day to dump the shit. But otherwise, I can't imagine why anybody would say yes. That in mind, maybe they stopped trying to dump at places and they were like, well, let's figure out how much we can feed to the average human person to like get rid of this waste, and we'll just filter it through human beings and into the water supply. They can be our toxic waste dump. And they just started, like they took whatever that toxic waste was. We'll call that red 40. It does a dandy job of turning shit red. Let's use that in all the food. And suddenly, they've got rid of the problem. We're all filtering it through our children and through ourselves. Now, I know this is kind of wacky, but this is just one of the thoughts I've had. It's a possibility. You never know, man. They do weird shit. So like if certain people got it passed that it's actually not a harmful thing and they got it through the FDA that palm oil, which is actually a toxic byproduct of some other manufacturing process. But if like that, they got that passed as like a food additive saying it's not harmful because they figured out the parts per million they could put in to all the different foods that wouldn't be harmful. Meanwhile, you're getting it in everything. So it's just something that's crossed my mind. People that are smarter than me will likely be laughing because a lot of them are sheep. And some of them will say that's a possibility, but not likely. And other people may know that it's true. So I don't know. You never know. When you're a conspiracy theorist, you go off on these rabbit hole journeys where you might have a revelation, like as a thought of an explanation for something that doesn't make sense. And, you end up that palm oil is toxic waste that they're filtering through the human population. Anyway, I've had quite an exciting evening tonight. Besides coming down with a cold, my kids came running downstairs from the old Victorian house. We have a big, beautiful attic where the Attic Frogs podcast is shot. And there's bats that get in there. We got all kinds of wildlife. There's birds living in the eaves of the house. There's freaking squirrels up in the attic. They're climbing all through the walls. We don't get rid of them. Not all of us are too lazy to get rid of them, I think, because we just let them live. And we got bats in there. So I've caught 2 bats and maybe 2. Yeah, 2 now. I thought maybe 3. But the third one I killed. And that was sad. I got a butterfly net. It's the only thing I could think of to grab because, you can't really, you can throw a towel on them and catch them, but you run the risk that it's going to end up touching you. And we got a no-touch policy with bats in my body. My body, my choice. I choose don't touch the bat. So I got a butterfly net, and I'm up there running around. The first one came at me. They kind of do like a figure 8 up in the attic. And as he came around, I just kind of swung the damn net, and I crushed his rib cage and killed the poor thing, and I felt terrible. He wasn't dead totally, so I had to put him out of his misery, which is the humane thing to do. Now, people that rescue bats will be pissed, honestly, I didn't know that there was a local place that'll rehab an injured bat, but I screwed him up pretty good with that butterfly net, and I didn't really want to put him through the agony of being so injured. So he was never going to fly again from what I could see. He was just kind of, not in good shape. So we put him out of the misery, but the other ones I've caught, and I've been lucky. My kid got this one on video. He's going to put it all over his dumb TikTok account or whatever he's got going on up there. We just recently gave him a phone at 10 years old because all of his friends have one. So, but honestly, I feel better, that I can get in touch with him. And so he filmed it, not very well. We'll see if there's any good footage that I can tack onto this later. But anyway, it's a dumb game. You catch the bat, you go outside and let him out. And let him free, and he just flies right back in the same chimney he comes in every night. It's a waste of time, but I can't kill him, and don't want to kill him. So we'll just play the game. I'll catch you when you come out. If you scare my kids, I'm going to catch your butt in a butterfly net, and I'm going to gently set you free. And you just keep that in mind, bats. So, yeah, we had that going on. Gosh, it's been an interesting thing. My poor mother's in the hospital, so please pray for her. People that know her locally. She has multiple sclerosis. She's got the secondary progressive kind that, she's tried to stave off through diet and exercise. She was always known as like the speed walking lady because once she was diagnosed, she did every single thing they told her to hold it off. And yeah, she did hold it off really well for years. She'd get an attack every once in a while growing up, and her face would droop and she couldn't type. She was a secretary at the high school and elementary school. And when she'd have an attack, she was out for several months. Well, as she got older, the goddamn attack started affecting her mind and gave her bipolar-like symptoms. So it's been really a difficult thing for her and the whole family, I don't want to get too in depth. People that know locally will know that it's difficult once one of these MS attacks comes on. She has aides to help take care of her at the house with my father now. And they're seeing it for the first time, these aides who really love my parents. Like, they take such good care of them. Grateful to have people and thank God they worked hard and they can afford to pay aides to come to the house and help them with this stuff at this age. And my father's quite a piece of work, so people that know him, he's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, but I think he's always had a little touch of the Alzheimer's, if you ask me. He's a little touched. Now, coming out of the womb, he was a fraternal twin. And I used to see baby pictures of him back in the day. He didn't look too touched back then, but he acts a little touched for most of his life. And the older he's gotten, the more touched he acts. And yeah, it's a little bit tricky, man. Our parents get old, and you love them. And but dealing with Alzheimer's and stuff is tough with the temper. And we've always kind of clashed, my dad and I. So anyway, long story short, my mom's in the hospital again with an MS incident, and it's been tough. I'd like to get in depth into it because I don't think it's talked about very much, but I'll do that in another episode. But it's weird how my mother got diagnosed as mentally ill with bipolar. However, they never attributed it to the MS, but it coincided with an MS attack. It came in the same cycles as her MS attacks would. She had MS symptoms during these mental health episodes, but they could never connect it. And it was, every time she ends up in the hospital, it's this frustrating journey that I have to take these people on this journey of trying to navigate MS and the mental health. And I guess there's just not enough research. I've looked into things like this and haven't found a lot on it. There is research that says that there are bipolar-like symptoms that can happen to certain MS patients, but I haven't seen a lot about it. So it's been tricky. So she gets treated medically as a bipolar patient, and she gets treated separately as an MS patient, but she doesn't really receive medication for the MS at this time. She did for a long time. The reason is because it brings your white cell count down so low that you basically have AIDS, I would think. And, she could have gotten sick and died with just about anything with how low her white cells were. And she did get sick a lot. So anyway, our parents are all getting old, and I guess they all have their own problems. It's interesting. Those of us that are still lucky enough to have ours around. Mine are getting older and older, obviously, and the problems are only going to get harder. So you try to keep them out of the home. I would rather just keep my parents with me if I could. My father's a little too much to take. If I had to, I could house my mom. I don't know if we could do dad. We might have to chain him up out in the backyard. Well, we'll just throw like an old tire and a big chain out there and let my dad just run free in the yard and bark at people that go by. I don't know what else I'd do with him, but, maybe we sell tickets we could have a dunking booth out there, just clean them off. That's not very nice. He did get me onto earth. We have to be respectful of our parents, even if our parents are kind of tough to deal with at times. I think I'm really trying to be a better son than I have been in the past lately, get more involved in their lives and try to spend more time helping them out and trying to be patient, especially with my father. He doesn't trigger me like he used to because I think he's so much older now. He's frail looking. So his angry episodes don't affect me the way they did when I was younger, when he was still a threat, not that he was ever a physical threat, but just, primordial physiology wise. The dynamic between fathers and sons have always been a little rough at times. I'm hoping to keep a really good relationship with my two sons. So important to me. And I think about that all the time. Like how I treat my parents is how my kids might treat me. And man, I better not treat mine like shit all the time, or that's what I'm in for. You got to break these cycles. You'll get what you give, the karmic cycle of life. And, that's been a big mission of mine. I think the podcast is evidence of that I'm trying to break toxic cycles that I see in my life and in my family and try to reach that harmony. There's a harmony state you can get to. I know it's attainable, and I know for a fact because I'm in such a more harmonious place than I was just a few months ago. 10 times out of 10, I choose this place. This is way better. The local Heyoka did his thing. I came down to the playhouse and I fixed my relationship, and she's a Heyoka too. She's a female Heyoka. For those that don't know what a Heyoka is, AI sent me that in my algorithm at one point, but it's an ancient Lakota. They called it it's like a clown or somebody who's a contrarian who laugh at a funeral kind of thing. And I think I do have kind of like that sense of humor. I'm not going to call myself a Heyoka, but I did actually screenshot the attributes of a Heyoka. So let's read it together, shall we? A Heyoka. In Lakota tradition, a Heyoka is a sacred clown, visionary, and healer who receives their calling through dreams or visions of the Wakinyan, the thunder beings. I talked about this on a previous podcast, and a bunch of other people that are Heyokas came forward and said, hey, I'm a Heyoka too. So they knew what that was. I think there are a bunch of us out there, not a lot, But the core attributes are contrarian and backwards behavior. They do everything in reverse. I don't know if this fits me. They ride horses backward. Yeah, well, I do that. Yeah. Wear clothes inside out. Guilty. Just kidding. I don't do either of those things. Complain of cold in summer heat. That I may do. Or strip down in freezing winters. Also may do that. I have a funny story about skinny dipping in the winter. Someday I'll tell again. Emotional opposite. They laugh during times of grief and weep or show distress during celebrations. I do that. I try to add levity where I can, but I try to be really compassionate during grieving sessions. I don't try to go in and make crack jokes. I'm not really going to do that. But anybody who does a job that involves tragedy, EMTs, or even just your local volunteer firemen, or police officers, people forget all the trauma these people see all the time. They have to see the worst stuff that happens and clean up the mess. And eventually you start making jokes. EMTs in New York City. My brother-in-law was an EMT before he became a police detective for the NYPD. And he would tell me how they joked about everything. They did stuff like this guy got decapitated in a car accident down in Manhattan or something, or Brooklyn. I don't remember where he was stationed, but he said the guy got decapitated and they had a rookie EMT on the staff. And so they put the head back on top of the shoulders. So it was sitting up there. And they said, hey, go wake that guy up. He's alive. But he needs to be woken up. This is your chance to get in there, get your hands dirty. So he walks over to the car, all eager beaver, that kind of shit when you're the new guy on something like that. And he ran up and he starts shaking the guy's shoulder going, hey buddy, wake up. And the fucking head rolled off and he started just booting all over the place, just totally shocked his system, I'm sure. And everybody was laughing their fucking asses off. And that's how you have to handle tragedy eventually. If you see too much tragedy, it's going to overwhelm you and you're going to become depressed or, it's going to affect you in a negative way. So you got to add humor. Thank God for humor that we can use that during times of grief and struggle and strife. Anytime I'm at my lowest, I know that humor is the one thing that could really pull me out of that just for a few minutes and you can laugh at something funny. And anyways, back to the Heyoka. So a Heyoka might put a decapitated head back on a poor dead man's shoulders and just, desecrate the corpse, but in a fun way. They are emotional opposite. Oh yeah, that was that. Social satirist and taboo breaker. Unbound by normal social rules, they question authority, expose hypocrisy, and speak uncomfortable truths through absurdity and humor. They may even move out to the goddamn playhouse in the backyard and do a podcast about you. So be careful. And I have to be careful because I know that there are legal measures that can be taken. Anyway, that's kind of Heyoka-like behavior. So I'm going to check that on the I am a Heyoka box. I have the order of protection to prove it. I am a taboo breaker as well, I think. I am wearing skinny jeans at age 49. Definitely taboo, or at least, at the very least, it's a fashion faux pas. I don't know what faux pas is. I know that's what you're supposed to say. It sounds kind of gay to say it. Let's move forward, shall we? Mirror and healer. They act as an emotional mirror, provoking laughter to heal trauma or causing chaos to temper pride and arrogance. I would say that's correct. I naturally do those things. I can't really help myself. So, Heyoka check for that. Emotional mirror. Yeah, I tend to do that. And I think the way I do it is, and I don't want to make light of it because it's actually something I'm trying to really temper in myself is, I will show people what they don't want to see in themselves. I will talk about the things in myself that I don't want to see, the masks and the things I'm trying to hide. Try to remove those things to be authentic and, live your life in an authentic way. But, sometimes I can end up doing that to other people that don't want to have it done to them. And that is very Heyoka-like from what I understand. So, yeah, man, just dropping that Heyoka thunder dick all over Groton and doing my job out here, putting a mirror up to myself and others to improve the world around us and have a more harmonious existence. That's the goal of the Heyoka. So hello to the other Heyokas out there that you got to know you're a Heyoka. If you're a Heyoka, you're a goddamn Heyoka. Okay, let's put it that way. And you can pretend, if you can say you're a woman and you're a man, I can say I'm a Heyoka, and I will respect you as much as you can respect me. Let's move on from that, shall we? What else was I going to say? So I caught the bat in the attic. Disgusting little creatures. Very cute in their own way. I know everything's cute when it's a baby, I guess. But I also saw the Candace Owens, Andrew Wilson debate. I brought that up in the previous episode. I wasn't going to actually watch it, but it turned out that I had time, and when I was doing a work, I didn't really have to concentrate. So I put it on while I worked, and it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. Basically, I didn't expect it like any kind of big resolution or anything. It was more just a pissing contest, a pissing match between two people who butted heads, and Candace is doing the Lord's work. Now, Candace Owens is somebody I don't actually watch, but when I do pull her up, I see why she's so popular. She'll bring you right into, you're in her fold. She's got like these big fluffy wings, and she'll put around you and bring you in. And it feels like you're in an exclusive club, that you're getting the truth out of this lady. And maybe that's true, and maybe it's not. I don't know. Like I said, what she's doing with Charlie Kirk, I applaud. I think every suspect situation should be excoriated, which means to dig deep, like an excoriation is like removing chiggers from your arm. I said chiggers with CH, from your arm. And you would excoriate them out. Well, in the same way, you want to excoriate suspect murders. I mean, that was the weirdest, most traumatic shit ever, watching Charlie Kirk get killed. I personally really liked Charlie Kirk. And a lot of the misconceptions about him on the left, I wish you would go back, just take a break from everything. Go back and listen to what he said in context. And, if you still hate him for it, fine. But I feel like there was a lot of misconceptions. There was a lot of clever editing and narrative twisting going on. The dude wasn't out there trying to offend people. He was out there trying to speak his truth and do his part to make the world a better place in his own way. I know that's not the way for everybody, and nobody's going to make everybody happy, but the guy was an honorable, intelligent guy that was trying to do good in the world. And it was a damn shame he got killed. And it really upset me and a lot of other people. And I'm glad that somebody is brave enough to go out in the public eye and take the risk of a whole stack of protective orders of harassment. Jesus Christ, how have they not shut her show down? Well, again, you can speak the truth, I guess, if you're not intentionally trying to destroy somebody's reputation. I don't think it's as bad, like you can speak the truth, and that's what she's doing. So whether or not I listen to her, I applaud her, and I hope she continues until we get to the bottom of this shit. And if there's information that needs to come to light, bring it to light. I don't trust the official story ever. Why would you? That's insane. Why would you automatically trust the official story any more than you trust any other story? Should always have a healthy level of skepticism. Andrew Wilson did a poor job as far as maintaining his composure. I think he was very nervous. If I'm super nervous, I get a little jittery too. I can't really help myself. And he's a chain smoker sitting in Candace Owens' house. I don't think he was as prepared as he needed to be. That was a lot of pressure on his shoulders. You got Candace, who's been out there for months just doing a number on this shit. She knows it inside and out. Like, she's been down in that rabbit hole. He isn't even peeking his head into the rabbit hole she's down. But he thinks he's smarter than everybody. And because he's very misogynistic, he thinks women are stupid. And has said that. He thinks they're all retarded. Now, I think he's being a bit facetious, and he's just using harsh language to describe problems he has with certain traits of females. And if you're sitting on the Whatever podcast arguing with OnlyFans girls, you may end up with a bad view of women. Let's put it that way. So maybe he's just been in poor company. But he just sat there shaking his foot, and he was holding his face a lot, and he had these tics, these nervous tics came out big time. So he was really nervous, and, I would be too. I'd probably be over there squirming around, urinating. It's Candace Owens. I'd be like kind of starstruck. Maybe he was too. She's an imposing force. And if she really did have a dream, I'm enough of a Heyoka to know that you can have a dream that's going to be a vision. She's a Heyoka. Goddamn, is Candace Owens a powerful Heyoka? She'll take you right apart and show you that mirror, buddy. No. And so he's up against a Heyoka. He's no Heyoka, believe me. Andrew Wilson, no Heyoka. Candace Owens, Heyoka. So he was fucked from the start. But she didn't do a great job with me just because I don't like the gaslighting tactics. Now, maybe it's just how she is. She's very strong and forceful, and she was going to maintain total control. She wasn't willing to relinquish any control to the likes of him, which is fine. I don't blame her. And he did his job. You know, he's a professional debater. Honestly, he is, because he gets paid a lot of money to go around and debate. And whether they were just paying him to be a shill, as Jimmy Dore said, for Turning Point USA or not, because apparently he went and taught them how to debate, which is weird. I guess he gave them a workshop or some shit. Man, he must have stunk that place up with those cigarettes. Because if he was nervous like that in front of Candace, get him in front of about 40 people at Turning Point looking at him like, you know, but they're all impressed with his abilities. He didn't really shine. But it's not that he did a terrible job, but she really crushed him at the end with the viral moment, which was that at the end, he couldn't name a single charge, you know, that Tyler Robinson, the alleged killer of Charlie Kirk, was charged with. And so he did a poor job with that. He should have been prepared if he had a team, but you know, it's a lot to do and a lot to remember. That's definitely, you want to start with the basics. I'm not even sure what the hell they were debating. It was like he was debating whether that Tyler Robinson was the killer, and that it was incontrovertible proof that he was, basically based on the prosecution's evidence. I suppose is what he was doing. He was also trying to kind of rescue Erica Kirk's reputation a bit for the masses and do some other things that I think he was probably getting incentivized to do by Turning Point. That's pretty clear. Which, you know, he was a robotics repairman a couple of years ago, and now Turning Point's hiring him to fucking represent them. It's like, it's a big deal. So there's a lot of pressure on the guy. I feel bad for him, and I think that he knows he did a kind of a shitty job at times. But you can't do anything with Candace Owens. She's not going to fucking give you an inch. I mean, I know he's used to batting around these dopey girls with these debates he does at times. And I have seen him debate dopey girls like Destiny and these other people. I'm just joking. That's actually a man, but he's just kind of a douchebag. This guy with blue hair that was like the big firebrand debater on the left. I couldn't stand his tactics either. They're all slimy, these debate tactics, and condescending, ad hominem, you know, shit shows. They just don't work. Nobody learns anything from these debates. They're just entertaining to watch. They become clickbait. So Andrew was a clickbait debater, a click debater. Nice. I just coined that. Eat a dick, Jimmy Dore, with your master debater. Just kidding. I love you, Jimmy. But he's been saying that a lot to describe Andrew Wilson. He doesn't like him. I like Jimmy Dore a lot. I've got Jimmy Dore's sticker from his show I went to see in Cortland on this Milwaukee light over here. Okay, it's off camera, but I even bought his hat. I bought one of their goddamn hats. Didn't fit very well, but it was a cool keepsake. Yeah, big fan of Jimmy, but he does not like Andrew Wilson. And I think he's probably got his reasons why. I don't really care if he likes him or doesn't like him. But he was calling him a master debater a lot, which is a funny thing. But they came up with that on South Park. And being that my last name is Dates, I came up with master debater as a kid, you know. And when you have, I hear a dog barking. When you hear anything that has like the ring to your name. Plus, I'm a natural freestyle rapper, which no, I'm not going to do right now. I do it with my kids a lot. What else did I see in the news? As a natural freestyle rapper, I was trying to say that when you hear things that rhyme, you're going to pick them up. Italian art theft. You know, there was some earthquakes and stuff too, which I've been seeing a lot of earthquakes come up in the news feed lately. 7.4 here and a 6.8 there and a 7.2 yesterday, and today there was 2. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but there was an Italian art theft, which was really cool. I took a screenshot of that too. I asked AI about it. But it really got me thinking, like, how interesting to be an art thief. It's crazy that there's people like, my job is to finish drywall and hang cabinets and put in windows and shit. And other people are like, screw a job. Let's go buy some cool black clothes, dress like ninjas. We'll buy the coolest equipment we can as, you know, cat burglars. You got to be like a cat burglar, I guess. It's kind of a hard word to say. Anyways, 4 Renaissance masterpieces by 15th century master Antonello de Messina. And who hasn't heard of him? God, big fan. Never heard of him at all. And I went to art school for a little while, but art history I didn't really get into. Never heard of him, but he was a master, so God bless him. They were stolen from the MUME, that's a capital M-U, capital M-E, regional museum in Messina, Sicily. The theft took place on Saturday evening during Italy's Ferragosto holiday. Interesting. So they picked a holiday. We'll have to look in what a Ferragosto holiday is. When thieves bypassed alarm systems and escaped with 3 panels of the 1473 San Gregorio polyptych. What the hell is that word? P-T-Y-C-H. What would you say? Polyptych. And a double-sided panel depicting the Pietà, estimated by experts to be worth 70 million euros to 80 million euros. Wow. Translates to $81 million to $92 million. So we've caught up a lot with that old euro. The works are central to Sicily's cultural heritage, and authorities have launched an international investigation to track them down. And I think they had suspects in another article I saw. There was like 4 of them. Yeah, super interesting. A team of these guys, just like the movies, getting together in some dark room or some little pub somewhere and leaving the phone at home so you can't be tracked and, using a fake name. Who knows who these guys are? I'm really interested. Maybe they're old childhood friends. How do you find 3 other dudes to go rob art with? It's hard to get 3 guys to come do a cover band, let alone rob paintings and figure out how to sell the shit. I mean, you figure this out. You got to find out where the paintings are, find out who's going to buy it from you. Now, maybe these thieves get hired by somebody who wants a certain group of paintings or a painting, and they hire them very specifically, and they give them all the information. That's possible. But otherwise, you have to imagine they're just a crew of really smart dudes who know shady-ass motherfuckers that like paintings, that are like, well, let's get this 80 million euros, bro. That's a lot of scratch to steal. God, I mean, I'm in the wrong business. I was born with some artistic ability. I should be painting oil paintings that, getting ripped off for them. But Jesus, there's a lot of money in that fine art world and in the classic art world. It's the most valuable shit on earth is art and gold, basically, or art and land. That's what it is. I think art and land are the 2 things that never really lose their value. I have to look that up now. Let's see. Is it true that art and land are the only 2 things you can possess which don't lose their value?
No, both can definitely lose value.
You fuck off. I heard something like that one time. The art world is screwed up. They basically launder money, a lot of people think, because how are they getting millions of dollars for these bullshit paintings some of these guys put out? If Hunter Biden's getting $500K for a painting, we got a problem. What is that? What it was? I don't remember. He was getting all that money for paintings. You remember that? Like clear corruption happening in front of everybody. But he's just taking advantage. Those Bidens know how to work the system well. They do it all. So maybe they're reptilian aliens and they've got the inside tip from the mothership on how to do this shit. I don't know what they're up to, but they seem to be up to stuff. Hunter Biden's been doing the rounds lately. He was just on with Duncan Trussell and a few other big name comedians doing podcast circuits, the podcast circuit anyway. And that's weird to see him. And he's out there like he's never done anything wrong. And it was funny. Duncan Trussell was asking him today about his Finger Lakes tattoo. So we're up here in the Finger Lakes where I'm at. And I'd heard about that there's a human trafficking conspiracy theory tied to the Bidens in some way, that Hunter has a Finger Lakes tattoo on the nape of his neck. And people said it was something to represent that, like a tattoo to represent that he's the king of the Finger Lakes human traffickers. I don't really get it. And I've never heard that this is a major hub of human trafficking by any means. They're little quiet communities, like they grow grapes for wine and shit. Pretty chill area, really. And it's absolutely beautiful. But Hunter Biden said that it's where he grew up, on Skinny Atlas Lake and Owasco Lake. And, I don't know. He probably he's probably human trafficked, but I don't think the Finger Lakes region has anything to do with it. So he just likes to smoke crack, and he's doing the dirty deals with his dad. And they're smart as fuck because they're getting away with everything. The guy smokes crack on video. He videotaped himself smoking crack, driving like 100 miles an hour in a Porsche or something to Las Vegas. I mean, the guy's off the chain, and he knows he's untouchable. He must have had Secret Service with him when he's doing this. They must be in the back seat just shitting their pants. Like, hand me that crack pipe, dude. You're fucking nuts. They're probably all buddies. Weird, though. Yeah, Hunter Biden's doing crazy shit with Secret Service outside the door. He's like the Diddy parties, you know. He's in there putting Meek Mill on blast. Now I'm getting a bunch of texts through of cats from my girl. I guess she's telling me I've been down here too long. She probably thinks the longer I'm down here, the more likely I am to say something I shouldn't say. So we're going to sign off now from Sigma Wolph Podcast. I'm Brian Dates. This was episode 20. Thanks for checking in, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy.